Yay, Greg!
Yes, thank you so much. Wait just a second. Will, thank you. Cliff, let's see here. And of course, by the way, again, around for our hosts, Jan and Jerry Mantle. And by the way, their daughter, Carrie, has been working with them fantastic. I also have my team, the 11 Bad Penny, Von Eckhart, the Chief of Our Investigations, Eileen Proctor does media outreach, Nicole Bowers, look at yourself there. She is handling our Facebook, etc. Thank you. And what a thrill. Thank you, Will and Cliff.
A little more microphone.
Oh, okay, are you getting me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. What a thrill to be with the Americans for Democratic Action, because it's ironic that tonight actually there's a meeting at the White House of the Americans Against Democratic Action. and then you had I'm surprised you're so filled up. It's a packed house tonight despite the competing event down the street. The Clintons are holding the Americans for Democratic Inaction. But I don't know what that, no, I didn't make that up. Eleanor Roosevelt. What an honor to get the Eleanor Roosevelt Award, because in my house she was our local house goddess, and I got to tell you that I always think of Adlai Stevenson's words at her memorial. If you don't know Adlai Stevenson, there's a lot of reaction. He was the Bernie Sanders of the 50s, okay? And he said Eleanor Roosevelt would rather light a candle than curse the darkness. And I think, damn it, that's all I do is I just curse the darkness. That's my business. I'd be out of a job if it weren't for cursing the darkness. I'm a dark curser. And nevertheless, I'm thrilled for this award, especially from the ADA, because I grew up. I just returned from decades in New York, London, elsewhere. But I grew up over there in Sun Valley, which is about 40 minutes and 3 million years. About 3 million years away from here. In fact, Sun Valley, by the way, if you don't know it, is the anus of Los Angeles. It is, no, really, it is. It is. It's where the sewage plant is. I grew up next to the sewage plant. So every time you go, we get it. But it's. And I was supposed to be an investigative reporter. Not if you grew up in Sun Valley, Chicano neighborhood, where you're supposed to go to Vietnam. And you know, I would have followed that path, but then by accident I hit this radio station called KPFK. And in 1967, June 23rd, actually. And they said that there was going to be a meeting of a group called the Americans for Democratic Action to protest the war. So I went, okay?
Really?
And it was a bit unusual because at that time, most of the members of ADA, unlike here tonight, most members of the ADA joined when Eleanor Roosevelt was thinking of becoming First Lady. So it was either no hair or gray hair, right? But the other thing that got me there is that there was a new group out that was going to open up the act, just like billionaires here, called Steppenwolf. And so they were like, so it was like, heading down the highway, adventure. And then, as they're trying to complete their set, the head of the ADA, a guy named Alan Cranston.
Yeah,
he was the Bernie Sanders of his day. And Alan, and he said, he stopped Steppenwolf and said, I think this is a little inappropriate for this audience. But it wasn't. Because that's what we all needed. We're all born free. Anyway, so I ended up, thank you ADA, because you won the war. And Johnson didn't. Yeah. And let's not forget it. And that's what the action part of Americans for Democratic Action is about. So I became an investigator. How doesn't matter. A series of unfortunate events. I became an investigator and did a and so I did. I was an investigator for a living, and one of the things I did many investigations, including, for example, the Exxon Valdez investigation. I went up to Alaska and found out that it wasn't some drunk skipper who ran into a rock. Exxon had turned off, and I kid you not, had turned off the radar on the Exxon Valdez on its maiden voyage because it was too expensive to operate. I can't make that up, but I couldn't get it in the U.S. press. I was there, again, cursing in the darkness. And then I did some other investigations. Harvey knows, Harvey wants me there, I investigated nuclear plants for the U.S. Justice Department, racketeering and fraud. Ran a racketeering and fraud investigation, uncovered, among other things, that the builder of the nuclear plant at Shoreham, New York, and here at San Onofre, and in a place called Fukushima, Japan, that they faked something called the SQ, seismic qualifications. As it turns out, those plants cannot withstand an earthquake. That was a report, an investigation I made in 1988. By the way, put it in front of a jury. They charged the nuclear industry with racketeering. The jury gave us $4.8 billion judgment, which political manipulation eliminated. We had that report on these plants cannot withstand the earthquake, again at Fukushima. I tried to get it into the American newspapers, and I ended up just cursing in the darkness again. This went on until finally I was about 43, I got a call at 4 a.m. from a newspaper in Britain, The Guardian, which said, "We want you over right now. We need this investigation, your investigations." And so I showed up in London, they gave me a hat, and I'm an investigative reporter. And then right after that, BBC Television hired me to do the same. And I was doing several investigations. One of them was the night of the election in 2000, November 2000. I'm watching TV. I'm living in London now. My kids are getting these upstairs, downstairs accents. But what I'm seeing is black people coming before the cameras and saying, "I couldn't vote, I couldn't vote, I couldn't vote." The black people, what is going on? And I'm thinking, in my conspiracy nut mind, you know I'm called a conspiracy nut, that always gets a laugh from the conspirators. Oh wait, I'm going to stop right here because this is Gilbert from DSA, and he was really upset with me because he said, "You won't say you're a socialist." And so tonight I want to admit that this year I become a card-carrying socialist. Here it is. This is my Medicare card. This is my Medicare card. There are millions of us card-carrying socialists. Thank you, Eleanor Roosevelt. Now, so I'm looking, I'm seeing all these black people come in front of the camera, and a conspiracy nut mind of mine, I'm thinking, there must be some computer program that's just erasing the names of black people off the voter rolls of Florida. And sure enough, this is from the computer, Catherine Harris's computers, their secret list of voters, and by the way, it says BLA, BLA, BLA. What race could that? What are these voters? When I saw that, I kid you not, I thought blah blah blah. That's what I said, what is blah blah? Why are all these voters blah blah? We can laugh, except the punchline of that joke, by the way, is George W. Bush, and so he won Florida supposedly by 537 votes, but 56,000 black people were removed from the voter rolls because they were called, on this list, they were called felons. And exactly 0 were ex-cons. Their only crime was voting while black in America. And this list, okay, here's an example of a black person. There was a guy convicted named John Fitzgerald Jackson, and who is black, and the voter who lost his vote, the same guy, right? Because his name is Johnny Jackson Jr., right? Same voter? Because, you know, Jackson's not a common name for a Republican. But throughout, not one legal voter. I got these lists. How? None of you. Well. Just kidding. If you see the film, you know that one of these hats actually really does have a camera in it. This one? Now, did the Jeb Bush himself know about this? I got a tip from a little birdie. I have this little birdie, fantastic. And he comes and he drops little documents. And I was told Dan Rather wanted to do this story for CBS because I was cursing in the dark again from London on BBC television, the top of the nightly news. This is how the American election was stolen. The front page of the Guardian newspapers, and in every paper in the Western world was my story covered on the front page, except it bounced off the electronic Berlin Wall here in America, which was still in the dark. I was just cursing at the darkness from London. Okay? And so Dan Rather, I kid you not, his people called me up and said, we want to do this story. I said, great. Well, do you have something else? I said, Jeb Bush personally ordered the purge of black people. I said, how do you know that? There's a document. There's a document, and I've been given the date. It's September 18th, 2000. And it's from Catherine Harris's office. Get that document. You got your new story, a big story. And they didn't run the story the next day. And then they didn't run the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I said, what happened? Where's the story? And they said, well, sorry, Greg, we checked it out, and Mr. Palast, your story just doesn't stand up. I said, what do you mean it doesn't stand up? I said, well, we called Jeb Bush's office, and they said he didn't do it. And I said, oh my God, I didn't think of that. So I called up Jeb Bush's office and Catherine Harris's office, and I said, I understand there's a document dated September 18th from the Governor Bush directing you to remove felons from the voter rolls, which is illegal, by the way, but there's a document. Could you send that to me? I know that Miss Harris wants me to have it. And 15 minutes later, in my fax machine, Jeb Bush did it.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing. I put that on the nightly news BBC, every major paper in the world except in the United States, where it was lost in the darkness. So once again, I'm cursing in the darkness. And you know, now, okay, so that's it, right? Everything's fine now. You can disband Americans for Democratic Action now. So now it's 2017. And as you know, we held an election. Nothing was wrong with it. You heard Hillary Clinton. She said no American candidate for president has ever challenged the sanctity and the veracity of the vote. Okay? Never. She also said, by the way, that in 2000, she did say that the vote was stolen in 2000 in Florida, and she said, I will never forget it. Amnesia. It happens. And what happened? What happened? Here's what happened. Okay? Now we've got this. What happened was, in 2016, I did an investigation with Rolling Stone magazine. So I'm flying out into the United States through, you know, like the AARP Rock and Roll Bulletin. And, sorry, Jim. And I hear this guy that Mr. Putin calls Agent Orange, who says that 3 million people in America voted twice. 3 million people in America are voting twice. That's what Trump said. And he picked that up from, he picked it up from a guy named Chris Kobach of Kansas. If you don't know his name, it's fine. Just remember KKK. Chris Kobach of Kansas. And this guy, okay, the Secretary of State of Kansas said there are 3 million people who apparently were ready to vote twice, and they did. Okay? Now, 3 million people voting twice. No American journalist asked for the list of people. I did. Now, I can't say that they don't give it to me. They said, there's no way you can get this list of double voters because that's a felony crime. And this is a felony crime investigation. You're not allowed to get this information. I said, well, how many suspects are there? And they said 7.2 million. 7.2 million Americans on the suspect list. I kid you not, which they wouldn't give me, though here is part of it. I got 3 million of the names of the suspects. Now, who are the people that voted twice? Well, here it is. He's back. Billy Ray Jackson of Hampton, Georgia, voted a second time as Billy Manuel Jackson Jr. of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And Victor Oliver Jackson in Atlanta voted a second time as Victor Mark Jackson of Petersburg, Virginia, etc., etc., etc. 2 million, yes, they're very fast voters. And I kid you not, by the way, if you see my film, you'll know that that one of the voters is Willie Mae Jackson. This woman voted a second time as, Willie Mae Nelson voted as Willie H. Nelson, who's, by the way, a country singer. So it was easy. I captured him on the film. I caught him, this double voter. He voted both as Willie Nelson and as this woman, Willie Mae Nelson, according to Chris Kobach of Kansas, Mr. KKK. Now, here's the joke. I couldn't get this on U.S. TV. I couldn't get this in the U.S. News Beyond Rolling Stone. I got it on Al Jazeera, terrorist TV. But once again, I was cursing in the dark. And now it gets worse. Because they actually removed 1.1 million voters from the voter rolls. And if you think that they're done, this week, the state of Georgia removed 597,000 voters from its voter rolls, about half of them from this cross-check list, as they call it. Half of them from this list. This week, not covered. So excuse me if I continue to curse in the dark, because here's what's happening. Yes, I know that the mainstream press has said they've now they finally discovered Chris Kobach, who I've been writing about, by the way, since 2014, warning about what would happen in 16. They're saying, this guy Chris Kobach, he's peddling the lie that millions of people voted twice, that there's illegal aliens on the voter rolls, blah blah blah. It's all lying. But you know what it is? Don't worry about it. It's nonsense, because all it is about the vanity of Agent Orange and Mr. Trump. All it is that he lost the popular vote that they recognized by 3 million. And so now he's just trying to prove that he actually won the popular vote. And so he's created a commission, the Elections Integrity Commission, which is interesting because he picked the person with the least integrity in America, Chris Kobach of Kansas, the head. But okay, so Election Integrity Commission. All right. Now, they are going to use these lists to knock off another several 100,000 voters. It's already started in Georgia. Now, here's what's happening. The media says it's Trump's vanity. No, it's a plan. It's not vanity. First of all, what the papers have not covered, first, the Washington Post did a whole story on cross-check. So what they did was, they actually didn't get the lists. They said, this won't really find real illegal double voters. No sugar, Sherlock. But they never asked for the list from Kobach, and they never even asked me, and I've got them. And they know I've got them. So they said, they said that it's just a lie. There's no lie. It's not about a lie. It's about a plan. That they have removed these voters, and that's what elected Donald Trump in the state of Michigan. in the state of Michigan, 50,000 voters were removed from the voter rolls by this cockamamie bogus list. I was in Michigan. Donald Trump supposedly won by 10,700 votes, not counting 50,000 people knocked off by cross-check, not counting 75,355 votes that were never, ballots that were never actually counted. Machines broke down in Detroit. What color are those voters? The answer is blue, right? Those votes were never counted. Those ballots were never counted. By the way, you heard that Jill Stein asked for a recount, right? She paid for a recount. But you know what happened? She was stopped by Trump's lawyers, and who said she can't ask for this count of those uncounted ballots because they're little marks on paper scanning, a scan thing. And a great machine that doesn't break down called the human eyeball can read that thing. And she paid for those things to be read, and they said, no, you can't do it because Jill Stein, no matter how many of these ballots you read, she can never. And so they turned to Hillary's lawyers and they said, so does Hillary Clinton want this count of the ballots to proceed? Should we count the votes of African American voters in Detroit and Flint? And the answer of her lawyers are, we are just here to observe. Now, many people were shocked by that. I wasn't, because that, after all, we were just here to observe, was her campaign slogan. And, okay, so look. So I was cursing in the dark, but I was cursing when I'm in the dark. At least you can see the film of mine projected up on a screen, the best democracy money can buy, and that is your homework. You got to go see the film. I'm serious. I'm going to have a new version out shortly. And except that film about how Trump would steal the election with details came out in September. So now the new version is, the new subtitle of the film is, "This Time Pay Attention." Okay, now, let me tell you something. Going back to cursing in the dark. I was thinking about that. And I curse in the dark only because, give me 5 minutes here. I have to remember that there are some candles out there. That piece of paper from inside Jeb Bush's office. I got a tip-off from a scared young woman who said that there is a document dated September 18th. That's why I knew to ask for it. I don't know her name. I think that she's the one who deserves this award. I don't know her name because I really don't want to know her name. And she helped me get that information, and I think of other. All my work is not, when I curse in the darkness, it's because some very courageous people have lit candles, and I'm going to shout about it. Now, and one particular person I'd like to honor tonight. It's a guy named Tundu Lissu. I want you to remember that name. And one of my investigations, when I investigated the 2000 election, I was following the money behind the Bush vote-snatching machine. And the money came from an odd place, a Canadian company called Barrick Gold Mining. Why were they picking our president? Why were they funding this operation, Barrick Gold Mining? Then I found out that George Bush Sr., in his last days as president, gave Barrick Gold Mining in Nevada an $11 billion deposit of gold, a gold mine in Nevada with $11 billion of gold, and the U.S. government got $10,000. So Barrick Gold Mine Gold Mining Company of Canada got the gold mine, we got the shaft, and George Bush Sr. got the job, paying millions of dollars as soon as he left office as a consultant to Barrick Gold Mining. And here's what else I found out. The next thing their consultant, Mr. Bush, did was help them get a gold mining property in Tanzania cheap. Unfortunately, there were already gold miners on there. They removed those easily. They were in there small. They were called jewelry miners. They dug holes 20, 30, 40 feet. They picked out little bits of gold. They were there. So they removed them by running bulldozers across the property and sealing up their mines, except 50 miners were still in the mines. I reported that story in The Guardian. Bush and his partners sued me for libel in the Guardian. Because I also said that, you know, under British libel law, by the way, it's very interesting. You can be sued not for what you said, but for someone thinks you said. So, for example, when I said that George Bush got the job for millions after giving the company a gold mine of billions, they said some people might think those things are connected. I don't know why. So, anyway, but Tundu Lissu, I got the information to back up the charge, to back up my story. Tundu Lissu, an environmental lawyer from Tanzania, went back into Tanzania, got film of the bodies being carried out of mines, of the bulldozers crushing the people and the miners and their mines. Affidavits, you name it. And for that, he brought that to me. His candle. He wanted to shed a light that was never covered in the U.S. press. Never. And by the way, I was at Columbia University School of Journalism, and I mentioned this story. Why wasn't it in the U.S. press? Why wasn't it in the New York Times? My lawyer, a guy named Floyd Abrams, told me because the New York Times has protection of the U.S. Constitution, which you don't have written, but it costs them a few bucks to defend themselves because they'll get sued, and you know. And I mentioned that, and one of the editors of the Times came up to me at Columbia School of Journalism and said, "No one's ever accused the New York Times of cowardice." And another reporter named Seymour Hersh, sitting next to me, leaned over and said, "That's the editor that got me fired from the Times." Now, Tundu Lissu, for giving me that information, was charged with sedition. His law firm was smashed physically. His partner was beaten up, and he faced jail and possible execution, jail time if he was lucky, execution before the trial, because it's Tanzania. And so, he got out, as it turns out, safely. I said, "So what are you going to do? How do we get this out?" He says, "I'm going back to Tanzania." I said, "Tundu, his twins were just born about the same time as mine." And I said, "You got your twins?" He says, "I have to go back." He did go back. He survived. And I'm here and survived to continue telling the story. He lights the candle. I'll curse in the dark. I'm happy to accept this award on his behalf. And light this candle.
I feel so lucky, so privileged to have you here. And I think everybody here is also feels the same way. So I'm so happy that Eleanor Roosevelt was your angel in your household. And here's a bust, what you hold this, of Eleanor Roosevelt. So this is our Eleanor Roosevelt, our annual Eleanor Roosevelt Award. And it's being given to you, Ray, for reporting on human and democratic rights. It's become your life work, and we are joining you, we do join you in your life work, because this is what ADA is all about also. And yes, and it says, what does it say? It says Eleanor Roosevelt Award, Americans for Democratic Action, Greg Palast, 6 August 2017. So, and here is a certificate of congressional recognition from Congressman Ted Lieu, which is, he's my congressman, proud and happy. We endorsed him, and I won't read it to you, but basically, congratulations, it's from Ted Lieu, honoring Greg Palast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's get a picture here. All right.